Hey, how's it going? Oh crap, I got all kinds of stuff in the way. I did not prepare. So, hi. I pulled some cards, but I also wanted to talk about some things before I got started. But it's not going to stray very far from what the cards have to also say. So the first card I pulled was from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck. Oh, okay, here, sorry. Look at some signs, please. Okay, thank you. And also, don't look at my refrigerator. I don't know why that bothers me, but I would rather you didn't. There's nothing, like, wrong with it or anything. It's a distraction to me, okay? So anyway, the card I pulled from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck is number 14, Drifter. So the number is 14 and numerologically. Shut up. If you add 4 and 1, it's 5. And the number 5, most times when you, well, it can signify change. And the card is the Drifter card, and the subtitle is Experiencing Life as It Comes. So this is a card that any other time kind of totally says the same thing, but in the context of right now, being the new year and all, sort of like an open blank page book that we have ahead of us, there's like a different tone to the drifting. And so on here there's a Chinese junk. I don't know what the motivation was for choosing that particular boat, but okay. And it seems to be sailing in amongst columns or something. And what's happening with the sky? Oh, okay. That's that's weird. Now it's reminding me of, you know, that movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, The Day After Tomorrow? Well, basically, what happens in that movie is, I believe it's the phenomena of the jet stream, like, not moving, causing, like, severe weather difficulties. And we have had that jet stream thing happening, like, over the past year. I'm not sure what all the effect was. It wasn't like in the movie, because New York got messed up. But anyway, the reason why I bring it up is the columns, I just noticed, kind of just look like office buildings. And I had started talking about the sky, like the sky is not in a good mood. You know, it's not dispensing its best weather. It's giving us its drug dealer weather and its rapist weather. It's not the best weather. Sorry about the reference. No, I'm not. I thought it was funny. Anyway, the columns, they looked like buildings just then. And also, like, water was flooding out of the top of them. Which is interesting because in The Day After Tomorrow, a spoiler alert, I guess, in it, one of the things that the people faced was flooding, even though what the weather was doing was freezing. So something happened to cause the flooding. I just don't remember right now what it was. Sorry about that. If you need to know that detail, I suggest you watch the movie. Actually, I suggest you watch it anyway. It was pretty good. Also, if you're a fan of that kind of thing, there's Jake Gyllenhaal. There's other people, but who cares? Anyway, so yeah, that was like a weird dichotomy, like right there in the movie. Obviously, it stuck with me, the flooding and the freezing. enough about that movie, though. So, this card and the concept basically aligns with my overall, like, I guess, goal, or my general aim in life is to, like, be like water, to take that Bruce Lee advice and not, I mean, kind of just, like, let things happen and not let them affect you, or me, rather, emotionally or whatever. Like, hopefully not physically. Like, I couldn't jump out of the way of something fast enough, which could be an issue, because, the whole wheelchair thing and everything. I have use of my legs. It's very confusing, but I still have to use a wheelchair. I'm just going to leave it at that. So jumping and running, not really my thing. I mean, I can. I have, in the past, had to, like, get out of the way real quick, and all of a sudden I can run. So I know I can do it. There's just challenges. So, why was I talking about that? I just love it when I stray and I'm not paying attention to what the hell am I saying. Oh, the goal of being water. It's like I'm constantly on that task, trying to make the necessary adjustments, and I'm having to just, like, accept the idea that I'm excitable. I mean, I've curbed it. You don't know what happens on this side of the screen. You just have to trust me on this. Anyway, but it's a good philosophy. It's like the best philosophy, because stuff's always coming at you, and depending on how you react, the situation goes different ways, better or for worse. It depends, I suppose. Anyway, so, like, the upcoming year, I've heard a number of people say that it's gonna be, which adjective should I use here? Exciting, turbulent. I've used rowdy. I think we could also go with surprising, and is awing a word? Like, all of us in awe? I just think that in a lot of ways it's gonna be like nothing we've ever come across in, like, recorded time or something, or maybe recorded way long time ago. I don't know. I just feel like we're in for some unexpected surprises. And one way to go with the whole water thing, if possible, for me, the issue is not just one thing, but a big thing is getting a control of my emotions. They're like a hose with a lot of water power, and it's just flying around. Crazy spray. That's what happens. So, yeah. Have to watch that, I guess. But to learn to not be affected to that degree would be good for relationships, and mainly that, like, pretty much just that. Because, I mean, if I'm by myself doing it, it's okay, I guess. Like, it's not good. Like, get a grip, girl. Is the thing. So, the other card I pulled, in the same vein, by the way, as you will go on to hear, I pulled from the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck. Excuse me. And it is the Stingray card. And this card has to do with basically leveling up. So, water animal, by the way. Duh. It's a stingray. They don't really exist anywhere else unless they're a kite. It also looks like a kite. Remember kites? I don't ever see kids using them. I mean, I could go online and see like a whole kite world in like Asia, but here, you know, it's I think it's because we don't run. I'm just remembering that my friends gave their daughter a kite, and I was really excited because where they lived at the time, every day wind started. It's a weird thing. But anyway, nobody ran. Nobody, like, I wanted to get up and run, but I wasn't in the wheelchair yet, and I hadn't broken my leg twice and lost like nearly an inch of length, which is part of why I can't like run and things like that. I mean, it's difficult. Like, one leg's short enough to be a problem. Like, makes it like nearly impossible to walk without help. Like, not like holding on to somebody, although that kind of works. It's not ideal. The best thing is whatever mobility device thing that I have, those always work better, because I don't know, they just bear the weight, and people get all like freaked out, like, am I holding wrong, walking wrong? Like, it's like, just be normal and I'll hold on to you. But I don't know, it is alarming to see me walk. It's bad. So anyway, what was I talking about that for? The stingray is in the book, the guidebook that comes with this. It talks about it signifying leveling up. And then you'll also notice that it has like the rainbow business going on here. And I always associate that with chakras. And I don't know, well, it doesn't have all of the color. Well, maybe it does. I don't know. I was gonna say I don't know if it's in the order that like chakras grow in, but they likely are, considering the source. I mean, it's a tarot card. Well, it's an oracle card. It's a divination card. Gosh darn it. But there it is again. You know, one thing about these, if you've ever seen them swim, if you're gonna have to navigate something like, what a weird dichotomy. Okay, they're very sinuous and they can, you know, maneuver and manipulate their bodies to go in all kinds of places, you know, in their undersea world, in their life. I'm sure they're prey to something, although those tails with the stingers on the end that'll just kill you to death. Look up Steve Irwin, the crocodile. I can't remember what he was. Well, Steve Irwin, Australia. Look that name up if you don't already know who he is. You'll learn that one of these killed him, and he was an animal lover, zoologist. He made a zoo. He was particularly fond of crocodiles. Got into some controversy dangling his very young baby too near, people thought, to crocodiles. So nothing happened. The child survived. Just like really put people off, and because it scared the crap out of them. I didn't think it was a very wise move, but I could see that he was fine with it. His wife was standing right there. She didn't look like she was about to lose her mind. So, I mean, they're there with the beasts all the time, handling them. If they're not worried, how worried should I be? I understand having a reaction, but people were up in arms. If they could I was just gonna say, if they could have boycotted him like Bud Light, they would have, but they probably did, like here or wherever, I don't know. I just know how we are here. We'll get all over somebody's case about something, and it's really like, you know, you don't have to get that invested in this particular thing. So anyway, I started talking about the law last time I made a video, and I did talk about part of what I've been wanting to talk about regarding the law, but here's the main thing that kind of is my deal about it, I guess, and it is that it's too inflexible, it's too unfair, it does not have consideration, it does not have compassion, and I think that those things need to be a part of the law. I think it has to not just be flexible but elastic. And since generally cases are decided on a case-by-case basis, there's room for that, you know? And this is like the bloodless coup type stuff that I was talking about. Although I know people have to go in there, wherever there is, and either be elected into positions or somewhere present like proposals, or I don't know what you call drafts of laws or law ideas, but I'm sure there's a name for that. And you take them to somewhere, to the people that do that with it, or you become the people. Like, I don't know the procedure is what I'm saying, but amendments can and should be made, because we have very obvious problems with parts of the law that can be dealt with, can be fixed, can be done collectively as they should be, because that's how law is decided. You'll have like an officer or several officers of the court sort of running the procedure, running it procedurally, but man, like the things that happen that the laws don't address, and it just seems like it's a crime that those crimes don't get indicted, like with police officer violence against the public, and the union protecting them so much with it, and also public opinion swaying it and affecting the law, but not the law actually being affected, so that I almost feel like it's obvious that people's biases and opinions are affecting the law. And I've been talking about this because as humans, we just are not impartial. We're just not. We got too many too much skin in the game. Like, you know, we have too much involvement. We care too much for whatever reason. Like, we have some sort of investment, and I don't think that should be a part of it. I think that's a part of what kind of screws it up. It makes things unfair. And I know there's stuff where, like, people get convicted for stuff and it's wrong. Maybe if the laws are more intuitive as they go to court, those kind of mistakes won't be as likely to happen. You know, I mean, I'm sure there are so many things I'm not even considering or thinking of that are symptoms of laws being enacted that can be like repaired or you know, altered in some way so that they are more fair and more efficient. Because we do laws and confinement, and we could do better. How about that? We could do better. We could always do better. And so that's something that I'd like to see, and I hope that everyone's afraid of Gen Z or whatever's gonna come like next. negative A, 0A, 2 point, I don't know. It's not my job to name those things, but I can't wait. I can't wait till they get in there, and because I know they're coming in, like, more younger generations come along, get born, get into the process with the rest of us. Like, hurry up. Like, I don't want you to wait until you're an adult, you know? Like, if you can make sense and you're still a child, welcome to the conversation, because you're affected as well, as much as anyone else. And if you can intelligently contribute, do, because man, we've gotten into some bad habits, and we're, like, a lot of us emotionally messed up in a way that we're kind of damaging the rest of us, and that shouldn't be the case, because I feel like there's fewer of us that are doing this than there are the rest of us that are kind of like holding everything together, because we're not buckling or bucking the system and fighting against ourselves. The loud layer and the calm layer, the Y levels. So I was watching a kryon channeling, and he was talking about vows made in prior lives that are part of the Akashic record that affect us in our reincarnated lives. Still, like, we might have had some spiritual, religious devotion in prior lives, like several of them, so that you kind of build up, I don't know, a stiffer layer, I guess, that kind of sticks with you into your next lives, because that's how things always were. But he was saying that we can change that, and at that point I kind of tuned out. Like, I did pause it, but I think where he was going was that in this going forward, we have been able to rectify the things we would have by, like, dying and being reincarnated in the same life. Like, he's been saying, geez, since I've been listening in, like, 2015. Well, he started saying it a little after that, because he parses out information, but not too far after that, so maybe a couple of years, he started saying that we don't have to die and be reincarnated. We can deal with a lot of past life trauma and repetitive cycling in life, like negative things that we, like, it's the time to overcome them. In fact, it's time to just, like, shed all kinds of dead skin layers of life. And so I kind of started thinking along a parallel line about it, and I'm just going to read you my notes. First time humanity levels up with the without the reincarnation process. We have to write the right thing, dork. I get in such a hurry that I only write, like, part of the words. That's why sometimes, like, just happened, I'll be reading this and I'll be like, wait, what did I just say? So, the first time humanity levels up without the reincarnation process. But the times we did, we racked up, did have to do the process. We racked up an affinity to certain skills or abilities. We have done some things so many times, they stick with us on a level. Sometimes the aptitude is obvious. Others, it's more sublimated. It's more a tendency that takes some excavation to uncover, to have it brought to the surface. In either case, the development of the talent or ability, the way we access them, is the journey. What we do with it in life, how we come to it. Do we bring it to the surface and just leaving off letters. What's the rush? And employ it to ferry us along in life. Yeah, so do we bring the skill to the surface and allow it to ferry us along in life? I'll expand on that. Or do we knowingly allow it to lie dormant there, but we just are indifferent to it and choose another path? That's a different trip. We can choose. And then I stopped writing. So, I mean, do you see what I'm saying there? Like, there's plenty of evidence of very young children just walking up to some instrument and just like playing it. You know, like they hear a song once and then walk up to a piano and just play it identically. So, and this is something I've learned from Kryon and also the Arcturians, and it's that in our past lives we'll pick up something that I said an aptitude, but I feel like you have like a desire as well to do the particular thing. So you build upon it, because going back and back and back, life does not get easier. You have less time to devote to things like playing a piano. Like perhaps you're one of the 7 children that it takes to feed everybody, like to run the farm so everyone can eat, and to help build the barn and the house and the, you know, what have you, you know. And so maybe, or you didn't have a piano, you know, like you just didn't have time maybe to develop that skill. But whatever it is, apparently from life to life it improves. And I'm just not sure what the determining factor is for anyone when they get to say this now lifetime. You know, what are you going to do with that? How developed is it? How developed do you want it to be? So, like, the kid that's born, like, all of a sudden just Mozart, what do you go through your whole life and you're just a musician, and you know, you do the touring, and it's said that you also, even though you have like the aptitude, you still do the study, you know, you still do the practicing. And I've noticed in life that, like, before I was sick and like sort of lost the ability to use my left hand properly, I was a guitar player. Like, I still am, but it's not the same. It's not the same at all. But well, I certainly had to practice and you know, pick it up. But I'd also had other music lessons earlier in life, so it wasn't that hard, you know. Like, even today, because of those 2 periods of instruction, I can pick up reading the music again. Like, all I gotta do is like look at the book for a minute and like do some exercises, and it all comes back. Like, I remember the terms mostly and stuff like that. But as a player, I didn't really work with anybody that could read music, so it like never really came up. But my uncle, who was a professional recording artist, he was all about the study and the practice, and he just never stopped. And it was like, it was like he had enough lifetimes built up that they put a piano in front of him and told him to do it, and he just took it and ran. And so my experience was different. And there's the journeys, you know, the different journeys that you can be on with whatever you bring forward in your life. So in my life, just this is a subject that has come up recently with some other people I know, where your life is whatever it's doing at the time, and suddenly some catastrophe happens to you, or something really super good, like you win the lottery, but that could turn into a catastrophe. But it just depends. Some life-changing event happens, like this particular friend got jumped and beat up, and they got like his phone and all of his money, and stuff just kept happening. And I was like, man, I know it feels terrible right now, but this is good, because sometimes life just gives us a jolt because we ain't moving ourselves, and it's time. And it just means that it's a time of change. And I think what my friend found was everybody came running to his support and offered all kinds of help. And that happens so much amongst my friends, and it's beautiful. But, you know, that's one of those challenges that you come across that you have to give me something, make adjustments for. And you can choose to be woe is me and everything is dreary. And you definitely, if you feel that, particularly at the start of what this friend of mine has gone through, who could blame you? And yes, you should feel those. Like, that's why we're here. That's another thing that I should link that, kryon. In fact, I think I will. But like, whatever happens to us is part of our journey. It's we're learning, like what our like lesson plan, our syllabus for the semester is in this portion of life. And I mean, it takes some getting used to, and learning to be philosophical about things, to be able to accept, like, oh my God, I just had a really bad luck series of events, and it's affecting my whole life, and my ability to think, my sensibilities. Like, it really can rock you. But sometimes that happens because it's what we need. And it, like I was telling my friend, like, I haven't discussed the whole life blueprint thing with him. I can't imagine he hasn't come across it at some point now. But, you know, I was saying that we, on a level, have participation in when these things happen, because we were inattentive at the moment for this person to sneak up and jump you. That's weird, because of where he lives. He should always be on alert, and he knows this. So it was just an opportune moment for these events to come into play. And that's like the beauty of life, like just the tapestry of, like, you know, you turn off your awareness for a minute, but then you allow all of these things that you're subconsciously aware of, but not on the surface. Like, I'm gonna go like kind of dark for a minute and allow this person to sneak up and like savage my body and steal from me. He really got messed up. He had to be hospitalized. And so it was beautiful to see how, like, all of our friends just like rallied around him. And it's good that they're all there in the same city. They can actually like go to him, which he needed. And that's part of the experience. And it was part of the experience for me to see all that taking place and to feel how I'm feeling, which I'm getting all choked up because it feels good. And that's, I just gave you a living example of what it's like to consciously live an experience, you know, like get everything from it, like wring every bit of the experience out of it, because, you know, that's what we're here to do. And if it doesn't make sense, that's okay, because we don't have to know everything. We're not even allowed to know everything. And we've always not known everything. Don't be so surprised. Like, stuff happens, but we can be more aware than we probably think we can. And when you start to, like, believe these things, they become more real, because it just kind of all comes together. Like, it's more of a not waiting to see it to believe it. You are able to see it when you believe it. It's a part of being receptive and not saying, no, I know this is not the case. Well, I mean, how do you know if you haven't tried? And when you get to the place where you're like, I want to try it, I can try that, your worldview begins to change. And it's amazing. So, the upcoming year, depending on what lens you view it through, it could be scary and raucous in a good way or a bad way. But expect scary and raucous. Expect tragedy. Expect triumph and joy. It all happens all the time. It's like, oh, everything. But it's all everything. It's all everything everywhere. It happens everywhere. And boy, I mean, we have the free will to choose what experience we want to live. And here's what I always come back to. For us in this country, I think the worst thing is to, like, be poor and unable to, like, claw your way up out of your circumstances to the point where you feel like everything's against you. But in some cases that's true, but I always think of, like, really poor people who, like, just don't even wear shoes if they can possibly avoid it, to save the shoes for as long as possible. Like, that kind of life where it's really, like, hand to mouth, and it's tough, and you're always hungry, and nobody has enough of anything, and your clothes are hand-me-downs, and they're worn out, and they're fit. It's like, you have a rough life. But if you can find joy in that life, I'm thinking of a particular film I saw of, it was really old, and it was of, like, I think a Smithsonian, I don't even know what you call him, guy with a camera out there taking information. And we're somewhere in the South, and it was like this black family, and it was like the grandfather and a bunch of kids, because the parents must have been out working. And the floor, like, it was dirt, like, the pants were tied with rope for a belt, like, the people were dirt poor, like, literal. That was the definition. And what were they doing? They were sitting around telling each other stories and making like, they were smiling, dancing, playing music, and they didn't have anything, but they just made fun out of nothing and made happiness out of nothing. That's inspiring to me, and you can do that in any circumstance. But that's my point. Like, no matter how terrible things are, I always think of Viktor Navalny. Look him up. Viktor Navalny, Russian activist, anti-Kremlin, tried to run for president against Putin a couple of times, and Putin keeps sticking him in gulags and poisoning him and just being a real shithead. So, Navalny, though, I just feel like I want to send the man visions of, like, his favorite foods and warm baths and, you know, steam rooms and vodka, like, whatever Russians enjoy, you know, or, you know, a bike ride, a walk hand in hand with his wife, or his time with his children. Whatever it is, I feel like because they keep putting him in more and more dire and terrible places, and I feel like he must keep his spirits up. And anyone like him, like in a similar situation, he must keep his spirits up by remembering stuff from other times and not thinking about his immediate surroundings unless like somebody's about to run up on him and do something to him, which he also has to be aware of at the same time, really. I mean, it's prison. Have you heard? You gotta kind of watch out for like everybody and everything in those situations when you're in prison. And so and I think that's how you stay sane in places like that, is going into your mind and putting yourself someplace else so that your current circumstances are not as prickly. Well, that seems mild. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, things can be pretty awful looking, but at the center of it, maybe not so much, you know, maybe unseen. Like Navalny, he's not gonna probably be doing a soft shoe and playing some sort of DIY musical instrument, but he can go into his mind and remember good things, good memories, so, or dream them up, you know. And I hope to God he's doing that. And like I said, anyone in similar situations where they're imprisoned and captured and they're just treated badly and don't have their basic needs properly covered, and you get the drift. So, I guess what I'm saying is whatever comes this year, you know, whatever degree you experience it at, whatever level of difficulty, I guess, like it's a video game or something, or, you know, look at it that way. But I think it's good to remember, the more you make the experience yours and less you let it sort of work you, the better off you'll be, and the better off people around you will be as well, which matters to me. Might matter to you too. I hope it does. In any case, particularly now, be water, but be not only flexible, but perhaps also elastic. So you can go away where you need to be and then come back to the world, and because you got to pay attention to your immediate surroundings, you know, like you could be in prison, or you could be getting a little too friendly with one of these things and it mistakes your intentions and kills you. So we'll gather and be alert. Thank you and good night.